Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me. This is KW, the blue collar worker, back at it with another tale of the tape. Well, I got some bad news for you. Jermall Hitman Charlo, I read a really good article yesterday saying that he will not fight David Benavidez. Because why should he? David Benavidez is a super middleweight, and Jermall Charlo is a middleweight. So he was saying, why should I go up and fight this guy when I could be fighting people in my division? Makes sense to me, right? But that was a highly anticipated fight. I was getting excited about that. That would have been a heck of a matchup. Jermall Charlo against David Benavidez. And David Benavidez destroyed his last opponent, Ronald Ellis, in fashion. It was unbelievable how quick them hands are. David Benavidez actually reminds me of Ryan Garcia with the quickness of those hands, when they punching. And I really believe that would have been either a 50-50 fight or Jermall Charlo would have barely beat this guy. He would have had to beat David Benavidez by knockout. And that's what I said. I said in my last video about Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez, if they went 12 rounds, I would have gave it to Benavidez. If it was a knockout, I would have gave it to Jermall Charlo. That would have been a really good fight. I was really getting excited about that. I just knew that fight would happen. But all of a sudden, Charlo started having stipulations on, well, we got to do this, we got to do that. And to David's credit, he agreed to whatever. Whatever you want to do, I'll agree to it. And at the 9th hour, Charlo said, you know what? Right after that Ellis fight, and I'm not saying the two have anything to do with the other, but it's like fights off. I'm not laughing at Charlo. I have a lot of respect for the Charlo brothers. I like those guys. But he said, hey, fights off. I'd rather fight WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Andre, who he was blowing off. He didn't even want the guy. And Demetrius Andre, wherever Charlo's fought, he was there saying, hey, fight me next. And they blew the guy off. So all of a sudden now, you rather take on Demetrius Andre instead of fighting David Benavidez. And I'll tell you, David Benavidez, he's like 6'1.5", but he looks taller. He just looks taller and longer in there. And, and Charlo is like 6 feet. So, he had the height, and Benavidez reaches like 77, and Charlo's reach is what? I believe his reach is 73.5. So, David had the height. He had the speed with them hands, because he can let them hands go. And, he's an unbelievable boxer. He don't have the best boxer body. He's got like a body almost like mine, but I'm finna work on it. But his hands make up for it. And he challenged Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez, and Jermall Charlo, and whoever else want to fight him, he'll fight you. So it ain't him. We can't say, well, it's not David Benavidez. David Benavidez said he'll fight whoever wants to fight. He'll make it happen. It don't get no clearer than that. And I just think Charlo, and that's my boy, I just think that he kind of thought about it. That could be an L. Because the way David fights, he's got them really quick hands. The hands is unbelievable. And Charlo is more of a come forward power punching, which he take a lot of punches too. And I said that about Jermall too. Jermall tends to take punches too. And David Benavidez, I saw one of his interviews was saying that, he's actually trying to get away from taking a lot of punishment because this way it'll prolong his career, which makes sense. So if those two were the man, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed because I really wanted that fight. That has showed that boxing is headed in the right direction. Had he to fall David Benavidez, and whichever way it went, because I like both of the guys, so I'm even on this one. But I gave Charlo a slight edge in the fight because I believe Charlo fought the tougher opponents. Even though Ellis, I think he was don't quote me on it, I don't have his stats in front of me. I think it was 24-0. I could be wrong, give or take a digit. But Charlo was a different breed than Ellis. Charlo would have bought a Canelo Alvarez to the fight. So that would have been a really interesting fight. It have showed us who David Benavidez really is, because now you fighting an established, hard-punching Charlo. Man, I'm disappointed because that would have been a heck of a fight. And like I say, Charlo in this interview did, and it sounded like Charlo, that the way, the wording, that sounds like how Charlos talk, if you know how they talk. So it's big disappointment because I thought that would have really been a great fight. David Benavidez, he's stepping up and he's saying, hey, I'll fight whoever. Come on, Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant don't want none of that. Canelo Alvarez don't want none of that because even though Canelo Alvarez is a super hard puncher, David Benavidez gonna get his too. But the only thing that I'm finna say about David Benavidez, when he was punching Ellis all them times, rapid fire, the guy was still standing there. And he did not look that bruised up. So it's telling me that David Benavidez is a solid fighter. He's a champion, but it don't seem like he's got Charlo power or Alvarez power. And that's just my humble opinion on that. I just think he don't have the power because if Charlo was hitting somebody clear in the face like that, he'd be down. And if Alvarez did it, those many punches like Benavidez did to Ellis, the guy be dead. He would be dead. If they hit somebody that hard, that many times, and you got to watch the fight. Watch David Benavidez's last fight when they stopped it. The ref stopped it, but Ellis said he still wanted to fight. So, that's just saying that, yeah, he punches good. But do you have the power to bag it up? I'm not in the ring with him, so I don't know what the power is like. But I'm just saying this. The guy looked like he wasn't out of it. He wasn't I'm done. No, he didn't look like that. He didn't look like that. So, but I wish Charlo would have fought him, though. Man, that would have been a heck of a fight. But now here's another scenario. Okay, if Charlo don't want to go up to super middleweight, which is 168, then why don't Benavidez come down to Charlo at 160? Now what's your excuse? That's all I can say. Okay, David, then if you don't want to come up the ladder, then you go down the ladder and challenge him and see what happens. Now, if Charlo don't take that then well, we all know the answer now. And like I say, the Charlo brothers are one of my favorites. So that's all I have to say on this. I'm disappointed that the fight didn't happen, but maybe in the future. And I didn't want to really talk too much about Demetrius Andre and Charlo because that's for another video. But that's all I have, guys. Thank you for joining me for another video. I appreciate you. Again, this is KW, the blue collar worker, back at it with another tale of the tape. And I'll see you in my next video. Take care, guys.